A man goes to his mother saying that now that he has graduated, he doesn't want that life anymore and kicks the bucket she was using. She asks him why he did that, and then he says that now that he was an architect, he didn't want to live in that house anymore. He tells him that he would finally have the life he always dreamed of and that he would never have to live there again. At this point, his brother arrives and says that he was proud of the man for graduating, but the man says to be a long one to get close to him as he was an important person now. The brother tells him that he should stop playing with those things and gives the man a hug, but the man says that he had graduated from an excellent college on his own and that he didn't want to know about them anymore. The brother then says that the man was fooling himself into thinking that, because he hadn't graduated from college because of his efforts. The man says that his brother should respect him and that he was now a very important person, but the brother says that he only graduated from college as he and his mother worked hard to support the man. He said that his mother did people's laundry and that he was always working so that he could support his brother, but that now the man was trying to talk him out that if they hadn't done anything for him. The man said that his brother was too dumb and that he had stopped studying, but he wasn't going to do that. The brother then says that he only stopped studying because his father had died a long time ago and he dropped out of school so he could help his brother. He says that the man should pay attention to what he was saying, because his words were hurting their mother, who always did everything for them. The man then says that since the man didn't want to talk about that he owed him, he would pay them with his first salary, but the brother says that he didn't care about money and said that the man was hurting their mother. The man says that since his brother was meaning that he owed them a lot, he would pay back everything he owed them. The brother then said that wasn't what he was talking about, but the woman tells her son not to say anything else as the man was just confused. The man then says that he wasn't confused and that he was just saying that he would pay everything he saw for them with the first salary he received. The brother then said that since he was talking about returning the money, he wanted to know if the man had ever been hired by any companies. The man said that even though he hadn't been hired yet, he was the best student at that college, that he was sure all the companies would go after him, it was only a matter of time. He said that now that he had graduated, all the companies would go after him and that he was sure of it, but soon his brother starts laughing at what the man was saying. He asks what his brother was laughing about and the brother says that he was mistaken in thinking that only with the diploma he would be hired, but the man was enraged by that and said that he would leave because he didn't need to hear it. When the man leaves, the brother asks his mother if those were the clothes she had just received to wash. He said, those clothes were dirty, and then the woman says that the man had soiled them when he threw them on the floor. At that moment, the man appears leaving and the woman asked where he was going. He says that he had now taken out a loan from the bank and that he would be very rich on his own. The brother then says that the man was thinking that life she like in the movies and wanted to end up being very disappointed. He then tells his mother not to worry about it and then the man leaves. Later, he was talking to a colleague when she said she didn't understand why he hadn't done anything to the man. She said that the man had disrespected his mother, which I didn't understand why he hadn't hit him. He said he wouldn't worry about it, because he knew that soon his brother would realize that he was wrong and would come home crying, because life would teach him how things really are. At that moment, the woman says that his brother was on his way to the construction site. At this point, he goes to one of the employees and tells her that he wanted to know who was in charge of that construction. The employee said he couldn't be there without the protective gear, but he says he was a trained architect and didn't need it. He said she couldn't talk to him like that and then asked again where they were in charge of the work. He then says that since she didn't want to tell him where they were in charge of the work, the first thing he would do when he was hired was fire her. She then tells him that he could go to the office, but that he needed to be careful. He then tells her that he will fire her when she gets back with her job and then goes to the office. He then goes to the foreman's office and a woman asks him what he was doing there. She asks him if he had a meeting scheduled for that time, but he quickly said that he had realized that they were in need of an architect and that, therefore, he was there. She then says that she needed to know if he had a meeting scheduled, as she was not aware of anyone who would be coming to the company that day. He then apologizes for your mermaid and says that he needed to introduce himself to the woman. He says he was an excellent architect who had recently graduated from one of the best universities in the country. He said that he was going through that company and that he decided to offer his work. He said he knew every company would want to work with him, that he didn't have to set up a meeting to go there. He said that this was the lucky day of that company, because he was willing to work with them. So he went to the company to be able to offer his services to them. The woman said she was impressed by it, but that he had to go through a rigorous selection process to be able to work there. She said that this whole process was very competitive and that he needed to go to HR to be able to participate, as she was not the one who decided that. She then says that he needed to go to the front desk so he could talk to HR, but the man says he didn't want to do that, as the receptionist had been very rude to him, asking him to wear a helmet. He says that this was making him very anxious, because he was there to be able to help that company with the knowledge he had gained at university. He said that all companies would benefit greatly from being able to see him in his company, and that for this reason he went to that company to be able to offer his work and thus save them from having to do a large selection process. The woman then tells the man that she has never had this kind of problem before. He said she was very surprised by what was happening there. She then asks a man when he would like to start working at that company. He is very surprised by this and then starts trying to tell her that he could start immediately, but she soon interrupts him. She then says that she had already thought about when he could start and says that she would call him in 2 days. He said it was great news and that he would wait for her call. He said he wanted her to personally call him as he wanted to hear her voice again. He then tells her that she would never regret doing that and that they would have the best architect there is. She says that she was very grateful for the visit of the man, that she was grateful for the opportunity to be able to be in the presence of such an exceptional architect as him. He tells her that she could be proud to be in his presence and then says that she had said she would call in 2 days, but he asks her to call on Monday as he wanted to start earlier in the week. When he leaves, the woman said that she couldn't believe what had just happened and says that only one person who had just graduated from college to do something as dumb as that. Later, the man's mother was cleaning her clothes when the woman walks up to her. The mother then says that the woman had arrived early. The woman said she had just left a meeting. She said that the meeting had ended early and that, for this reason, she went to the lady to get her clothes, but that if they were not ready, she could come back another time. The lady said it wasn't necessary as she had already finished cleaning the woman's clothes and handed them to her. At that moment, the woman notices a photo inside the clothes and asks who that person was. The lady says that this was her youngest son, that he had just graduated and that he left home saying that he would not come back. She said she missed her son very much, but that he had told her he was leaving and never coming back. She said she missed him very much, but he never came back to look for her and that she couldn't do much since he left. The woman then asks, how can her son leave with nowhere to stay, and asks if he even had a job. The lady said that, unfortunately, her son did not yet have a job. She said that he had left because he had argued with his brother, who had paid for his college tuition, but that her son did not seem to be grateful for what his brother had done. The woman tells the lady not to worry about it, because unfortunately, sometimes the children ended up being very different from their parents. She says that the lady didn't have to worry about that, because even though her son didn't seem to be grateful at the time, she was sure that her son would still thank her for everything she had done. At that moment, the man arrives and tells his mother that he has already come home from work. She said she was very happy that her son was with her and then tells the woman that she didn't know what she was going to do without her son by her side. She then said that it was her eldest son, and the woman said it was a pleasure to meet him. He says it was also a pleasure to meet her and says he was very grateful for everything she had done for his mother. She said that he didn't need to thank her, because the work she did was really good and she made a point of helping her. She then said that she needed to go back to her company as she had one more meeting soon, and then she said goodbye to them and left. Sometime later, the man goes to the woman's office and tells her that HR had asked him to come to her office because she wanted to talk to him. She asks him to sit down and then he says he didn't know she worked at that company. She said that she was actually the owner of that company and that it was a coincidence that he worked there. She then said she needed to talk to him about something very serious. She told him he could no longer hold a position at that company. He then looks surprised and says that he has always worked correctly, but she said that she had already talked to HR and that she would not go back on her decision. He then says that he was grateful for the time he was able to work there and wished them good luck. As he was leaving, she told him that the truth was that he could no longer hold a position in the company, as he would be promoted to supervisor of that construction. She said that the company would pay for his studies, as she was told that he had a desire to become an architect. She said that was the first time she had ever said something like that for a person, and said she hoped she wouldn't regret what she was doing. He tells her that she wouldn't regret it, that what she was doing would make his dream come true. He said he had always dreamed of going back to school, but that he couldn't afford it. She said she was very proud of what the man was doing for her family and that she knew he was a really good person, so she was doing it for him. He says he was very happy that it was happening to him, so she said she was sure he was going to be an excellent professional. At this point, the brother enters the room saying that he had received a call and says that now that he was there, they would have better than around the world, but soon he realizes that his brother was also there. He didn't ask his brother what he was doing there, and the woman said he was there because he was an employee of that company. The brother says I couldn't understand what was going on and says he should just be a low-level official. He said that even though that was his brother, they were totally different people, that he didn't care what happened to him. He said that he had studied hard and that he had managed to distance himself from the people he was as a human being and that he would never be like them again. The woman said that she had just understood that they were very different people indeed. She then asks him if he was ready to be able to start working, and he said yes. He said he was there so he could start working immediately. He then said he had a question and asks what his room would be. He says he had not yet been told what his job title would be and asks if he would be a supervisor or manager of that company. He said that he also knew that there was going to be a party to welcome him to the company and that he was looking forward to it, but she said that there would be no party and that the truth was that he would take over his brother's old position. She said she was going to have to work together with the other people in a menial job. He then starts laughing, saying that he wouldn't do that because he was a person with a college degree and that he had studied hard to get there. He said he couldn't do that and that he wouldn't be inferior to a person who hadn't studied. The man then tells his brother that he had also thought it might be a joke, but that he knew the woman wouldn't do that to them. The woman tells her brother that she knew that the man was a very honorable person and that he would be a great professional, unlike her brother, who was a very bad person, and that if he wanted to work there, he would work on the construction site. He then says that he was a very learned person and that she knew what he was going to say. Sometime later, the man was supervising the construction and says he was very happy to be working there. At this point, his mother arrives and asks if he was okay. He says that he was fine and that he was very happy to be able to work there, and then asks how his mother was doing. She then says that she was doing very well and that she had just got 2 more new customers and that with that, they would be able to buy the refrigerator they wanted so much to buy. The man then says that he was just finishing checking the walls and that they could go to lunch after that, but the lady says that he needn't worry as she would wait. He then said that he was very proud of his work. At that moment, the brother arrives, and then he greets his mother and brother. He says he was working a lot, and then the man said he had told his mother they were going to lunch. He then asks if his brother wouldn't like to go along with them. The brother tells him that he just needed to finish cleaning the floor and that he could go have lunch with them. At that moment, he remembers that he had a lot of work to do and says that he couldn't go to lunch with his mother and brother. The man then says that they could buy something for them to eat there. The lady says that she would be very happy to be able to have lunch together with her children and says that they were the pride she had in life.